Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion Knives. Live from the campus of Tom Radio, under the direction of Guido, Scoot, and Johnson, it's the pride of podcasting. It's Got Your Eers On.
All right, everybody, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Hello.
And Johnson.
There's more drama to talk about, Guido.
Man, Johnson, there is drama. I mean, I feel like this is like a regular soap opera, this WVU basketball situation.
As the biscuit basket turns. That would be our soap opera name, I feel like.
So Derek Culver leaves the team with no plan of returning.
In an odd fashion, yes.
In very odd fashion. So kind of break it down for us, Johnson. What was sort of the timeline of what happened here?
Well, I think we first saw, to credit some folks on social media, we first saw some rumblings about from Voice of Morgantown, right?
Yep.
People playing in California, Derek playing in California, I think through his Instagram. And just some rumblings, some musings, some opinions about, hey, he might not be coming back to Morgantown. I don't really think I didn't buy into that at the time, but that's what I recall, the first kind of rumblings. Then his agent, whose name escapes me at the moment, I remember we had
it looked made up.
We had a reaction that it felt like someone that was like a fake name or something. Like it was,
Right.
It was like a person that did not exist kind of name.
Yes.
I don't know.
Right.
He came out and said on Twitter, hey, DC has signed with us and he's not returning to the team that evening, that night. I feel like same day, that night.
It was like within, we were talking like half hours of like that came out, and then it was like DC said no, that's not happening, and Gabe Osaboyan was like on Twitter going,
right,
cry emoji, this isn't happening, whatever.
Right. Yeah, and saying no, none of that's true. Then
and we should also say, Johnson, that like half of WVU media, like all of those guys on social media that you see, the Mike Kazazas, the Cody Nespers, like all of those guys were like, it's happening, and then they were like, no, it's not happening. I felt sorry for all of those guys because they were like twisted all around.
Right. I think
night.
They were also trying to keep up and trying to figure out what was credible. I think no one really knew what was credible at the time.
Right.
Derek then comes out essentially the next morning, the next day, and says, actually, I'm here now to confirm all that news that you've been hearing. It actually is true. I am choosing to sign and move on and toward pro aspirations, and I'm not going to be coming back to the team. So I think that was a quick, I feel like it all happened in the course of 48 hours, 72 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really weird. And I think what was even made it sort of stranger is, earlier in the week, Coach Huggins had a press conference, and he had mentioned I haven't heard anything. I don't think Derek's staying. I mean, we're expecting Derek to stay. And then Derek announces his intentions, and I don't know if it was a press conference or if it came out of the Huggins camp or if it was an interview, but Coach Huggins said, and this is, I quote,
and Guido, I think this hits it on the head for me. I want to hear what Scoot thinks, but
yeah.
It felt like this other situation, and I think this hits it on the head. I totally agree.
Yeah, so Huggins said, here's what I don't get. I told Devin Williams when he left early that he had a chance to be the fifth guy in WVU history to score 1,000 points and get 1,000 rebounds. Just him and Jerry West, Lloyd Sharon, Kevin Williams, Warren Baker. That meant nothing to him. I told Derek, don't do what Devin did. Leave your name here. Leave your mark here. It will help you so much down the road. And just so you know, Derek Culver leaves WVU with 1,039 points and 799 rebounds.
And Scoot, Devin Williams is the exact person that popped into my head when this all started to go down. You had talked about Sags last week, impacting the game like Sags. To me, Sags was the most Bo Jackson-esque moment we might ever have with WVU basketball. There's going to be people that grow up and grow on with their, basketball fandom, and they're going to hear people like us talk about Sags, and they're going to look at us crossways because they're going to look at stats and not realize the must-see television that Sags was, during his time.
His sophomore year was amazing.
This did not feel like Sags to me. So when Guido kind of unearthed this quote from Hugs, I thought, man, this hits it on the head for me, because Devin Williams was the person exactly who I thought of, who could have had that final year to really showcase things and decided to leave.
Yeah, I guess in my mind, I feel that Devin Williams was more polished than Derek Culver was, probably coming in, as he started right away, I believe, as a freshman. The other part of this where it's a little bit different is I don't recall the end of Devin Williams' junior year, I guess it was, where it finished similarly to Derek's. For me, Derek Culver started to check out about 5 to 6 games left of the season, where the body language, like, he wasn't happy. You could tell he was getting on guys for either not cutting or, botching passes or, not running what he thought needed to be run. And so the body language from Derek, to me, he became, and part of that, he became kind of like a ghost out there. Like, we didn't, we're in the final 2 minutes of a game, and we've got Gabe out there who brings 0 offense when we need offense.
Yeah, and I thought if you think quickly back to the tournament, I feel like the Syracuse game was kind of different because that zone just screwed us all up. But if you think about that Morehead State game, I think he was really body language frustrated and unhappy with the talent he was going. If you remember that game, they had a talented freshman that they was really kind of their driving force. He still had a pretty good game, and I thought for most, or good portions of that game, he matched right up with Derek, and I thought really frustrated him. And I know you're going back, Scoot, even before that game, but I agree with you that something was different to close out the season. He just didn't feel like he was in it.
It could be something as simple as maybe there was a lot, and I don't know, I mean, we're not in the locker room, but maybe there's a lot of hype around Deuce, or there's a lot of hype around Taz and McNeil, and Derek felt like, hey, I'm still standing here. How come I'm not getting the same kind of attention? Or, we're now all of a sudden we're trying to feed the outside shooters and we've gone away from trying to get the ball inside. Something like that could be just what set him off this different path.
Well, I don't like it, Guido, because it feels very, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, right? I mean, I'm a Derek Culver fan, but it feels like a bad decision because I know that's going to be a homer take because I want him back on the team. I mean, let's face it, I want him back on our squad next season. But to me, it just feels like someone is sort of coaxing a guy into a decision that I really feel, we've argued back and forth. Like, I've seen people on Twitter saying Miles should come back and showcase and improve his draft stock. I don't really buy into that. Right. I think he's done, what he needs to do, and people are excited about him. I think with Derek, though, man, I think he was poised to be, a force and really showcase in one more season and really propel himself into that conversation.
And I guess here's my question I'll ask back to you guys. I'll give you my opinion first, but when you're a Division I basketball player like Derek Culver and you're getting chirped at by whatever agents or people or,
in this case, the agent's name was Servando Tejada.
Yeah, right? Whatever, however that works. And you look at your career and you look at, like, I like Derek Culver, but his showing this last season does not get him drafted in the NBA. Probably doesn't get him in the G League. I mean, I guess I don't see it. So when you're Derek Culver and you're sitting there and the guy's like, okay, well, we'll get you to play professionally. You'll go to the NBA. Do you do you look at your season and go, oh man, I don't know if I had an NBA season. I mean, I can't imagine that, like, he didn't realize that his last half dozen or so games were not good.
He can't shoot outside of 4 feet. Like, what NBA team is going to say, you know what? We like Derek because he can really stretch the defense. He can't stretch a defense.
And I mean, and this would be a question I'd love to ask, Deshaun or John Flowers, if we ever connect with them, is like, at what point? I mean, those guys played 4 years, and it's different in West Virginia basketball lore with them. So, like, I'm not trying to compare, but I guess in my mind, like, as a junior, not be, leaving the program again, just like Devin Williams did, leaving the program. Now your career is pretty much, I think Devin Williams has played in Australia, in China, and he played in the G League a little bit. And I think he's played in Germany. So he's gone all over the place. Is that like the career path that Derek's going to take now? Scoot's hot take last week was he's done with basketball, which I don't think it's true. But, I think that I don't get it. I think you stay around another year. I know that these guys, these kids, these men aren't there to get educations, but you get your free degree and then you decide what to do.
I think it was Johnson texted me earlier in the week and said that WVU might have one NBA guy. We certainly don't have 5.
Oh, that was who also said that?
That was actually Solheim that said that.
Solheim said that.
That's right.
Right. He was talking to us. Yeah,
that was right. So they don't have 5 guys. If we had 5 NBA players, which I don't think we do, we certainly shouldn't have ended our season the way we did.
But I don't want this that's the problem, I feel like, when we start to delve into these conversations. I don't want people listening to think we're now hating on, I'm a big Derek Culver fan. It saddens me he's not going to be back. But to me, this, again, just feels like a poor decision in the long term, because I'm sure there's people in his ear like, hey, man, you're a walking double-double, come on board with us and we'll make this work towards some kind of, either NBA,
I'd like
Europe,
him
whatever.
to talk to Kevin Jones some more. I think Kevin Jones could, because there really wasn't any drama surrounding Kevin Jones at all. There was no, he was on good teams and Kevin led the conference in scoring and rebounding and still struggled.
And a Big East conference. We're not talking.
Right. And still struggled. So that's why I would love for guys like that to have the impact on a Derek Culver or a Sags Konate or a Devin Williams. And I'm sure Hugs and staff would love for those guys to listen to Kevin.
But I think that's why Hugs' quote that Guido read hits it on the head to me, because I think he's exactly right, and I think that should have been the argument. To me it's a bit sad too, because I think I also text you guys that the other thing that occurred to me was that this Tejada guy, I'm supposed to believe this Tejada guy being in his ear was more convincing than Eric Martin, Coach Hugs, people on the staff. You know what I mean? I find it hard. Just that to me is a bit odd too, that he must, that makes me think that he didn't have far to go then to be convinced.
Do we feel the timing plays a role? So
I'm with you on time. Well, and here's the thing. I think we said this last week when we were talking about Polycap or whatever from DePaul, and
that he's like a smaller Derek Culver.
That's gonna be so fun. I'm so ready for that.
Because you know what, we're gonna spend the whole next how many 2 years he's with us. We're gonna be talking about Polycap, who came to us from DePaul.
I think we only have 1 year with him. I do think we have 1 year.
Oh, okay.
Well,
but anyway,
we're gonna have fun with it.
We talked about how it was interesting how the transfer portal guys that Huggins brought in, and how does where does Derek and where do those more offensive minded guys inside compare to these guys that are more defensive minded inside. But the other thing for me when you talk about timing, Scoot, is what took Derek so long? You're talking about it's been a month since you saw Taz and McNeil declare for their NBA draft thing. It's been 3 weeks plus since you saw Miles do it. It's been 3 weeks plus since the guys left to go into the transfer portal.
That's a good point.
What took Derek and I said last week, you would think that I get the NBA draft thing. He's got until whatever it is. It's I think it's June 5th. It's some ridiculous date that they have until they can declare for the NBA draft. But even at that, you think this would be a decision that you would have made the week
I'm
after
wondering,
the tournament.
This is just speculation. So maybe Derek's still good friends with these guys. Let's just assume.
What do you think?
And he's talking to Miles or he's talking to Taz or McNeil, and maybe they're getting positive feedback from some talent evaluators to the point where they tell Derek, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm coming back. It looks like I'm not coming back. So then Derek in his mind says, well, I'm looking around. I've got Jalen Bridges and Kysre Johnson are the only 2 people in the room that I've played with before. I don't really want to be on this, let's figure out where this guy fits team. I'm going to pull the plug too, because I'm not going to go out my senior year like this.
So you think Derek knows more about who may or may not return, is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe that's a factor. Maybe he thinks I'm not going to. Who's going to get me the ball? Kedrian?
Yeah, I can see your point, and I'm sure those guys are talking all the time, so he probably does have some info. But that also, to me, means that you're assuming that Taz, Sean, these guys aren't coming back, and I'm not convinced that's the case. I would be more likely to feel like Sean's coming back, for example, than not.
Well, we saw that John Rothstein tweet from this week, Johnson, where John Rothstein, which is, again, a way early prediction here on the West Virginia 2021-2022 starting five. He's got Miles McBride, Sean McNeil, Jalen Bridges, Isaiah Cottrell, and Gabe Osaboyan as the starting five.
As the starting five, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can see four of those, maybe. Like, I don't think Miles is coming back. Like, I just don't think Miles is coming back. I think Sean McNeil and Taz Sherman can be interchangeable. I think one of them is coming back.
One of them, yeah, okay, I could get on board with that.
I don't think both. I mean, maybe both do if we're lucky, but I think one of them comes back, and then the other three I agree with.
But Scoot, I think Jalen Bridges. You know that meme with John Travolta where he's like walking around and looking around, like where'd everybody go, palms toward the ceiling.
What's that from? Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, to me that seems like Jalen Bridges right now. He's like pumped to be on this team, and now he's going to come back next season. Like, where'd everybody go?
I'm not going to believe anybody's coming back until they officially say I'm coming back. So for me, you say you're gone. All right, go ahead and go. I'm also one of those. I guess it's maybe my personality. Like, hey, I get it. You are interested to see what's out there for you. That's fine. Go ahead and go. I've got a team over here that I'm trying to build. I can't have this. I might come back. I might not come back. I've got to go ahead and move forward, assuming you're not coming back.
Yeah,
if you come back, great. Right. We'll include you and stuff. But for right now, I've got to put you over to the side because I've got to get my mind right in case you don't.
Right.
So let me ask you guys a question. Like, seeing what has happened in the past 5 weeks since the NCAA tournament ended, and we've gone through what we've gone through with, or since we left the NCAA tournament,
right?
And we've gone through what we've gone through. Are you guys worried about this basketball team? Is this basketball team thumbs down?
I don't feel good about it. I mean, not to say that I'm sure the guys that they're bringing in are good. I mean,
it's a lot of people who have left. You're talking, and I guess I bring it up because we talked about this with a lot of people. We talked about it with Josh from Unreasonable Doubt. We talked about it with Brent Solheim, friend of the show. We've talked about it with a lot of people. There was I think this was probably the most hyped WVU basketball team in at least a decade plus. And so there were a lot of expectations for this team.
Well, since the Final Four team, yes.
Yeah, definitely since the Final Four team. Yeah. There were a lot of expectations for this team. Everybody thought this team was going to go deep. And then now we play our season. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't as great as I think we'd all hoped. It wasn't terrible. But then everybody, so many people have left the ship.
Well, I mean, we're sitting on here. I mean, let's be realistic. So we talk about how it takes guys at least a year to adjust to Huggins' way of coaching and probably some of the terminology, and that's why we saw Taz get better. That's why we saw Sean McNeil get better. Well, we've just brought in 3 guys, and we have 1 year with each of those guys. Okay? Mm-hmm. I believe. Well, Kerrigan maybe not, but I think Curry we do have 1 year, and I think Polacap we have 1 year. Are we to assume that learning curve is going to somehow speed up because they're going to have to play more? I don't know. But the way I look at it now, I'm trying to think, is Seni Njai ready to be a starter? Because if Isaiah Cottrell isn't 100% healthy yet, he might have to start. Gabe Osaboyan is going to have to start. I'm looking at Taj Thweet, who probably saw a combined. I think
Johnson has more time on the Coliseum court than Taj Thweet does.
Well, I agree. That's what I'm getting at. Like,
But
that
I
guy
think,
might have to
Scoot,
start.
Right.
Well, I think, though, to answer your question, then I'm not down on it, but I guess my confidence isn't there in it, because I think I would agree with what Scoot's saying. There's going to be a lot of new parts being interchanged and inserted in here that have never played before. They're going to have maybe
We're going to
some
take
kind
some
of
lumps.
practice time, and then you're going to go into a Big 12. You're going to have to try to work out those kinks pretty quick and then run into the Big 12 conference that's usually like a buzzsaw. So
Right. We're not Kansas. We can't just restock
I think
Kansas
that's the
does.
thing for me, is it's going to be a lot of new parts you're trying to interchange, and hopefully it gels. If it doesn't, it could be a really long season.
So is this a sign that, especially with Eric Martin not getting the job at Cincinnati and most likely staying on staff at WVU, one would assume, is this a sign that our Huggins years are kind of winding down quicker than we may all believe or think? And I'm not trying to push him out the door, and we definitely want Coach Huggins here, but is this a sign that the program doesn't have what's the word I'm looking for? The guys aren't as connected to the program as the guys have been in the past. So you saw guys when Huggins first came in, you saw the Deschons, you saw the John Flowers, you saw those guys that stayed with the program. And for the most part, I mean, you've had the Devin Williamses, you've had the Sags, you've had those guys, but for the most part, you've seen a lot of guys stay with the program. This is now starting to feel like, man, where are we up to now, guys? Six guys who had lots of playing time leave the program now in the past month?
Well, what it tells me is, so in the past, we would see people transfer for playing time. And in a lot of cases, that's why this transfer portal whole situation where you don't have to sit out is kind of like a bonanza, because you're finding a lot of guys that weren't getting playing time. Of the guys that we have listed as transfers or off the team or leaving the team or whatever, only one guy of those 6 or whatever we just mentioned is a playing time reason for transferring. That's what's a concern for me. So it's not that they're not playing, because they are playing. It's they're not happy playing here.
I mean, we were saying 5 months ago that Jordan McCabe was going to transfer after the season. So that one definitely wasn't a shock.
That's
I agree with
playing
you,
time. Right, that is playing time. These other guys, Emmett Matthews not happy about playing time. That's not the reason why he's leaving.
And here's the thing: I bet you if you asked 90% of the coaches in Division I basketball right now, they would. I mean, not to blame COVID for something else that's screwed up the world, but they'd blame COVID. They'd blame this whole. They've gotten rid of the sit-out year. They've gotten rid of the fact that these. So now you have guys I guarantee you. I said this a few weeks ago. Emmett Matthews would not have transferred out of WVU if he had to sit a year. He transferred because he could go to Washington, where he's going to play
25. He's pushing his career, the start of his career back, whereas these guys don't have to do that now. Right.
No, right. They don't have to do that, so they don't have to sit for that year. So it doesn't affect. I mean, playtime keeps happening. So I think that's really hurt when you look at the transfer portal stuff. But that's 2 guys. We're only talking about 2 guys in the transfer portal. The other 4 guys, you got Derek, you got McBride, who, I mean, I think he's going to go to the NBA. I don't think he comes back. And then you got Taz and you got McNeil. And I just don't understand what's happening that isn't, holding those guys to the program.
My worry then is this. If we're talking about, is this the wind down to Huggins? And I don't think Huggins is the reason why we're not getting recruits. I think he actually is the biggest recruiting tool we have, because I worry that when he's gone, we've now lost this. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. So we now lost this Hall of Fame coach that guys could play for. And some guys look forward to playing for that Hall of Fame coach, or I played for Coach Huggins, or I played for Bear Bryant, or, all these big name coaches.
Right.
Well, when he leaves, and let's be realistic, it's going to be in less than 10 years. You're probably looking, I don't know, what is
sooner?
Yeah, I mean, he's maybe 5. Do we have 5 more with Hugs?
Yeah, I think you have to be realistic. I would say way before 10.
Yeah. So where do we go from this? Because once we lose him,
Oh, it's bad. It's bad news.
well, we no longer have that recruiting tool.
Right.
And you have to have, I think, and I think we've done a lot in the last 15 years to kind of make WVU a national name and a well-respected brand, quote unquote, for kids to kind of get into and follow. And a lot of that is social media. A lot of that is the onset of the internet and all that kind of stuff, because that didn't exist before. When we looked at colleges, the three of us, we couldn't see anything on social media. There was none.
Right.
But I worry that if we don't have kind of like this young, hungry coach leading us, if we don't have a Hall of Fame coach, we need to have a young, hungry coach. Because if we end up getting like no offense to Ron Everhart or Larry Harrison, if one of those two guys steps in as the head coach, trying to ride off of Coach Huggins' coattails, I don't know that that's as an exciting draw.
I just think that Huggs is looking for, you can start to group guys over his tenure into like what you feel like are Huggs type of players. We bring up Joe Mazzulla a lot. I think John Flowers fits into that. I think you can kind of go. I thought Jawan Staten fit that bill. We lived off of Javon and Dax for a solid 4 seasons. I think he's constant. I think it's. Our situation is tough. I think the fact that we play in the Big 12 where we're at a travel distance. Now, I know it's gotten better over seasons. They work with us a little bit more, but I think you have to find the right kind of guys that want to not only take the grind of playing for Huggs, because I don't think that's easy, and then take the grind of that Big 12 season and then be happy with all of that. I think it's a special player that buys into all of that, works hard through all of that, perseveres through all that. And I don't think that he's found a complete set of folks that he thinks are his guys that have staying power like that. I think, hopefully he does, but I think Coach Huggs demands a lot out of these guys. And I think that we've seen the people that had a long tenure, they were a certain type of player, a special type of player. And I don't know that we always have that in these guys that are coming through.
Yeah, it's an interesting time right now in WVU basketball, because I feel like when you come into a season like this and everybody has it so hyped up, and then kind of how it's ending that season is very strange. So it'll be an interesting follow for next couple of weeks, and obviously we'll have you here with all of our opinions, which are worth what you pay for them, folks. So let's talk a little bit about WVU football as it relates to the NFL draft. So the NFL draft was this past weekend. A lot of hype going into the weekend about a couple of WVU players, most notably Darius Stills and Tony Fields, getting a lot of draft hype coming into the season, mostly by WVU media, but by other media as well. And I don't think it panned out as well for those guys as they thought it would. I mean, I think Tony Fields did well. 5th round to the Browns, very good for him. I mean, I think could be a good fit, for him in the Browns, and so that's great for him. I think on the other end, Darius had a tougher weekend with the draft, Johnson.
Yeah, I think he had not up to his expectation, and not up to most Mountaineer fans' expectations either. And I think it always kind of makes me laugh, as if you spend time watching past like the second round, I'm going to say, like, to me, the draft hits a threshold where you start to get into that territory where everyone overthinks everything. Right. Like, you're into these conversations, like, as Darius continued to stay on the board, then I saw all this conversation around like the length of his arms, for example, and I
right.
thought, like, is this what we're doing to this
is
poor
this
guy?
Really a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, this is,
let's not pay attention to the games we've watched him be in and his performance and the fact that he was an All-American and All-Conference player. We're now going to talk about he needs to be a half an inch taller and his arms need to be, 2 inches longer or something.
And I think what's interesting about it, and Scooty actually mentioned this, I mean, for WVU fans, I think Darius was the bigger follow this week than Fields. And I think that's just obviously because he played all 4 years at WVU. He's from West Virginia up down the road in Fairmont.
Yeah, I mean,
I think all
Dad,
like
scary, I mean, come on.
Yeah, dad, like the whole thing. The brother still plays for the team, so nothing against Tony Fields. I think Tony Fields, you come to West Virginia, you play 1 year, people loved you, we love you, you'll always be a Mountaineer. Congrats on the 5th round draft pick. I think for us, it was kind of a dagger that Darius goes undrafted. And if you don't know already, he did sign as an undrafted free agent with the Raiders. And congrats to him on that. But I think the fact that he goes undrafted when there was all this hype built up to it, and I think Scooty hit it on the head though. It's like almost as much as the NBA. Scooty had texted out to us this week. He's like, this is why there's so many weird things that these teams look for in the draft. This is why you see like some lineman from Slippery Rock gets drafted in the 3rd round or whatever, because they're looking for a special physique and a special skill set that they may have seen in tape that, maybe Darius doesn't possess as much.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, and I know people get upset, but measurables matter to pro scouts. How you do at the combine. That's why the combine exists. If all they did was look at game tape, then they wouldn't have a combine, right? What's the point of having a combine? So that kind of stuff matters. And then you throw in other stuff like, is he good in public situations? And who know, all the other stuff that we don't necessarily know about as fans. Like, I don't know what kind of conversations he had, and most of these teams interview the players. There's a lot of things that go beyond just game tape.
Scoot, who was the guy like 2 seasons ago that right before the draft he was posting pictures wearing a gas mask?
Oh, is that Laramie
weed?
Tunstall?
Mm-hmm. And remember how he still got drafted?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't buy into any of that crap you just talked about.
Well,
I think there's like a diminishing returns. Like you were like, it's like the Mendoza line. Like you're so good that it doesn't matter how crazy you are. We'll still draft
some
you,
of the weirdness.
Pac-Man Jones.
Right. Yeah.
And you're so bad that or you're not good enough and you have too much crazy. So it's like that Mendoza line of
I just
NFL
think
draft.
if I told you that 19 defensive tackles were taken in the draft, you would have thought he's in there somewhere. I'm not saying he's near the top or bottom or whatever. I just think most people would have been like, oh, okay, All-American, stand out in the Big 12. Yeah, he'll be in there somewhere. And he wasn't, and I find that hard to believe, to be honest.
Now let me ask this question, and I kind of know what you're going to say, but I want to throw it out there as a thought. Does it matter? Are we more passionate or less passionate because he is a native West Virginian?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
of course
that's
we're
a
more
stupid
passionate.
question. Yeah,
It's a dumb question.
Okay, so if he were, I don't know, Jeremy Pooler, let's say. I know he's transferring out or whatever. If Jeremy Pooler doesn't get drafted and he has the same kind of career as Darius Stills did, are we as upset?
No, we're not.
Probably not. I mean, I'd still be like bummed, but no, not
we're
to
definitely
the degree that like we're taking offense to this. Yeah,
right. So again, this is another one of those things. Me not being the native West Virginian, in the back of West Virginians' minds, it's like, here we go again, getting screwed over one more time.
Yeah, that's obviously
we got an All-American.
Exactly how we are.
We got an All-American, and he still can't get drafted.
Yeah,
What's a guy got to do?
No, you're right. That's obviously
catch a baby
it.
from a burning building or something. I mean, what else?
I don't know why you can't see that, but that's obviously.
I don't know why you can't see that either, Scoot. I mean, I agree with you, and I mean,
you're talking like somebody that was born in Winchester. I don't understand what you're talking about.
I think that it is. It absolutely. I mean, I think. And Scoot, you've been in the state long enough to know how we are, and we can even go back to the Derek Culver conversation about this. Like, loyalty means more to West Virginians than how well you play.
Just watch over the next couple seasons, Scoot, how much Guido and how much our love for Jalen Bridges grows.
Oh, absolutely. I've already seen it.
It already is.
Absolutely.
I'll be honest. I like Jalen Bridges, but you guys and your love for Jalen Bridges is overstated because he'll have a game where he scores 9 points and we're raving about his transition to the starting lineup. And then The next 2 games, he'll score 0 points.
I still love
And
him.
we're like, well, it was
Right.
just an off game.
Yeah,
He's,
just off
he's
game.
fine.
He had a header.
We're not passing the ball to him enough.
Yeah,
That's
come on.
the
It's
problem.
not his fault.
So I've seen it.
It's absolutely true, though. But I mean, I think for Darius, none of us thought he was going to be a first-round draft pick. For the Thursday night, we weren't like on the edge of our seats. And I personally, for me, I wasn't Friday. I mean, I thought that he had a chance in the 3rd round. I thought he was probably more a 4th or 5th round pick. Saturday had to be a pretty tough day for him, like to sit through those rounds and just see name after name after name going by. And on top of everything else, Saturday was his birthday as well. Ooh. So you had last day of the draft, last 5 rounds of the draft, and your birthday, and you're not getting picked. That's a rough take.
Well, signing with the Raiders is a pretty good birthday present, though.
Yeah, and here's the thing. He posted out I saw a video on social media, I think it was like an Instagram Live or whatever, where he was like, all this does for me, guys, is just makes my chip a little bit bigger. I'm going to go out there and work a little bit harder because now I got to prove to all of the other 30 teams that I'm better than that they made a mistake in not drafting me.
I will say this. I do think of all the 32 teams, he landed in the best place for him because of the following reason. He now has 4 guys on that defensive side of the ball that he has an instant connection with. And he probably already has a connection with them because you've got Carl Joseph, you got Nick Kwiatkowski, and then you've got Rasul Douglas. All 4 guys, and then Darius. All 4 guys now have got that West Virginia connection. I would imagine they've probably already reached out to him. They're probably going to take him under their wing. Nick Kwiatkowski, probably one of the more unheralded, solid linebackers in the NFL
for sure.
right now.
Yeah,
like
no
I
doubt.
mean, he's
having a great career right now.
Rock in the NFL. And then you look at Carl Joseph, another.
Yeah, and the good thing is he went to a team that needed defensive tackles. Like he went to a team that needed, help on the defensive line next year. So that's a positive for him. I mean, I don't know, at this point, like what. I mean, obviously his goal will continue to be to make the team, but you also have to remember that there's. When you in the NFL, making that practice squad when you're a defensive lineman is almost like making the team because you're gonna play because they get pulled up really quickly from that practice squad when you're on the defensive line.
Do you think my boy Jordan McCabe had any influence in this signing?
I do not.
Because of his move to Las Vegas, or
yes, that's correct.
No,
I don't think.
I would say no.
I think you're stretching. I think you're reaching.
I think you're definitely stretching.
This is just another example of a sweet assist by Jordan.
Oh, Scooch, you went far for that, man.
You've been holding that one in all day.
Yeah, you've been. Yeah,
Listen,
oh man,
he's dishing dimes for WVU, and we don't even have him on the roster.
You've been
anymore.
thinking about that all day. Just for
he
this.
wrote that one down like 2 days ago, right? Other WVU players that did get only Tony Fields, only WVU player get drafted in the NFL draft, 5th by the Cleveland Browns, as we said. Darius signs as an undrafted free agent. Other ones that have signed as undrafted free agent. Mike Brown signs with the Saints. TJ Simmons signs with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, maybe catching a couple passes from Tom Brady. Unfortunately, I think the Buccaneers are pretty deep when it comes to wide receivers. And center Chase Barrett signs with the Steelers. So not a great day, I guess, for WVU in the draft. We've had better days, but, at least we get to see some guys in the NFL and kind of continue on. Guys, I want a couple more things I want to talk about real quick before we wrap up this segment and go on to Bluff the Fluffs. One thing is, congratulations to Kysre Gondrezick. She is tearing it up already in the WNBA. She signed a shoe deal already, Scoot. She signed with Scoot's favorite shoe, Adidas.
I mean, I like that shoe. I don't know that I'd call it my favorite, but I do like an Adidas shoe.
Well, you love it more now, I feel like.
I would assume you love it more
I'll be
now.
buying those women's basketball shoes as soon as I can.
Well, how awesome is it that she's now set up to be like the face of the new generation of basketball for Adidas? That's amazing. I mean, I thought that was such a crazy announcement. So, I mean, that's awesome for her. That's amazing.
And I feel bad because I feel like I I feel like I didn't hype her as much as we should have hyped her on the show, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I feel like we had just kind of gotten to know her, and then she was graduating. So I think it's cool. I mean, it's obviously cool for her. I think it's cool for Mike Carey and his program too, because that they've got to be pumped, as someone leaving the program and going on and doing awesome things.
And it's got to be great for, like you said, great for recruiting. Like it's got to be awesome to have that to talk about when you talk to recruits.
Yep.
And the other thing I want to talk about, guys, last but certainly not least, is the Mazey family, WVU baseball coach Randy Mazey and his wife Amanda, who you've seen on a bunch of West Virginia stuff, and she's on ESPN Plus all the time for the Big 12 network. The Mazey family have started a fundraiser, the Team Whammer fundraiser. They've teamed up with Jeff Hostetler and the Haas Foundation to raise money for families of kids that have gone through traumatic brain injuries, just like Weston, their son, has gone through. You can go to teamwhammer.com and definitely help out, donate. One of the things that they're doing, if you go to teamwhammer.com, is you can sign up over Father's Day weekend. WVU Baseball, Randy Mazey is going to do a father-son baseball camp at the stadium that WVU plays at, Mon County Ballpark. Is that what they're calling it now? Whatever they're calling it now. The Black Bears, WVU Mountaineer, Mon County Ballpark Stadium.com. You get to go there. You get to spend Father's Day with your son and do a little baseball camp with them, run by WVU players and Randy Mazey. So
how cool is that? That
would
awesome.
be phenomenal. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that's epic.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. Go to Team Whammer, that's WAMMER, teamwhammer.com. Well, listen, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to come back with the number one game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On. Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high quality steel, fast opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast opening, high quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives.
This is Darius Stills. You're listening to You Got Your Eers On.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot and Johnson. And don't forget, you can find us on the social medias at Got Your Eers on Instagram and Twitter, and search for us on Facebook. Just look for Got Your Eers On. We're there. It's great. You should follow. There's funny stuff there. I mean, we are the number 5 podcast in all of WVU podcastdom.
Yeah, I mean, come find out what that's all about.
Yeah, you got to find out what that's all about. You got to get on the train.
I mean, I don't want to be number 5, but okay.
What number do you want to be, Scoot?
I mean, 2 would be all right.
We're number 2.
We're number 2. I
Who
kinda
does
like 5
number
better.
2 work for?
Oh, man. Well, you know what we do have that's number 1? We have the number 1 game show on a WVU sports podcast.
We do have
number
that.
1.
Yes.
Highly voted. Everybody knows there's no game show on a WVU sports podcast
Sweeping the country.
better than this one.
All the cool kids.
I mean,
all the cool kids.
or at
know.
least sweeping North Central West Virginia.
Yes.
One of the two. It's a little show we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. And Johnson came back last week, won, and now has tied up with Scoot 6 games apiece moving forward. It's a close. You guys are close this year. Like, this is a close battle you guys are having
neck
this
and
season.
neck.
Yes.
So yeah, you guys are neck and neck right now. It's very close matchup. So we'll see what happens this week. So, we kind of go back and forth every now and then. We do have a WVU centric Bluff the Fluff, and that's what we have this week. So
Okay.
this week on the show, guys, it is a Bluff the Fluff about the history of WVU undrafted free agents in the NFL draft.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay.
So we'll see what your knowledge is of WVU
Scoot's
football.
clearly
Okay.
excited about this.
I'm ready for it. I was undrafted, so I'm ready.
Yeah, Scoot was undrafted, and then he was not signed though.
No.
He was an undrafted, unsigned,
Still a free agent. Yes.
Yes.
To this,
still is.
to this
Give him
day.
a call. Hit him up. All right. So as you all know, a correct answer is worth 5 points. An incorrect steal is worth 10 points. And final bluff is worth 25 points. Before we started, we had a complete and total random flip of the coin. And Scooty, you get to go first this week.
It's about time.
I mean, do you feel like first is...
This weighted quarter that you flip is ridiculous.
It's got 2 heads on it. So head on both sides. You just picked heads this week, so good for you. All right, here we go. First question, on to Scoot, Bluff the Fluffs. WVU wide receiver George Campbell only played 1 season at WVU in 2019. And even though he was granted an extra year of eligibility, he declined and decided to go to the NFL. He signed with the Jets as an undrafted free agent, but was released after camp. And he went on to play last season, 2020, for which of these teams? Was it the Calgary Stampeders of the CFL, the Philadelphia Soul of the Arena Football League, the Houston Roughnecks of the XFL, or he didn't play at all?
I feel... Ooh, that's a tough question. Because I'm trying to think. That's pre-COVID. I'm gonna say he went to the XFL, the Houston Cowboy team.
Whatever.
Whatever
The Houston Roughnecks.
Roughnecks.
No, that's incorrect. I'm sorry.
He just had finger on the buzzer waiting for you to get done there.
Yes.
Let's go CT's Cowboy team.
All right, Johnson, for 10 points and the steal, was it the Calgary Stampeders of the CFL, the Philadelphia Soul of the Arena League, or he did not play last year?
I'm going to say that he did not play last year. Ooh.
I'm sorry. That is also incorrect. Nobody gets any points right there. He played with the Calgary Stampeders in the CFL last year.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
went to the CFL. You know, it's professional. It's football. It's a different field. but
Hey,
it's,
I mean,
you know,
And the goalposts are in play.
yeah, and he got to like get a running start every time he went.
and you played
went
for
out.
the Anna Stuckus Trophy, Scoot.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so nobody gets any points right there. Johnson, this next question is off to you. Former WVU cornerback Jerry Holmes was a star at WVU, but went undrafted in the 1980 NFL draft. He signed as an undrafted free agent, and he played how many years in the NFL? How many years did he play in the NFL? Was it 1 year in the NFL, 5, 9, or 12?
Jerry Holmes had a pretty lengthy career with the Jets. I think he played 9 seasons.
That's a correct answer. He played 9 seasons, most of them with the Jets, but also with the Lions and the Packers, and he had 25 career NFL interceptions.
When I was 3, I remember him being feeling snubbed.
You remember that in 1980?
I remember that feeling, yes, when I was 3.
Because you were a huge WVU football
Yes,
fan
I
in Connecticut
thought, what in
at
the
3 years
world?
old.
When is this
Well,
guy going to get
those
drafted?
of us that have been lifelong WVU fans, Scoot, we know these
Yes,
type of things.
this is true. All right, so Johnson gets 5 points, the correct answer on the Jerry Holmes question. Scooty, this next question is back to you. This NFL kicker went undrafted in the NFL draft, but ended up being a Pro Bowl kicker in the NFL. Was it Pat McAfee, Lou the Toe Groza, Mike Vanderjagt, or Todd Sauerbrunn?
I feel like I think Sauerbrunn was drafted, and I'm going to guess McAfee may have. I'm going to go with Mike Vanderjagt.
That's correct. Mike Vanderjagt was on the 2003 Pro Bowl team as a Colt, and he left West Virginia, went undrafted, decided not to get signed with any NFL team. Then he played, you remember he's from Canada originally, and he played CFL football for a couple of years, and then came back to play for the Colts. And I think he played 8, 9 seasons, Johnson, at the
Yeah, I
with the
always
Colts?
remember Peyton Manning calling him our liquored up kicker. Remember that? That's what I always think about when I think of Mike
right.
Vanderjagt.
In 2003, he was in the Pro Bowl. So there you go. All right, Scooty, 5 points with the correct answer right there. Good job. Good guess. And Johnson, this next question
Guess?
is back to you. Good guess. I'm guessing it was a guess.
No,
There's no way
I
that
knew.
was-
I knew.
You knew?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Johnson, this next question is back to you. Don Barclay has played 73 games and started 28 games in the NFL since leaving his WVU in 2011. What team signed him after he went undrafted in the 2012 NFL Draft? Was it the Saints, the Packers, the Lions, or the Broncos?
Don Barkley was signed by the Packers.
That's a correct answer for 5 points, Johnson. Yeah, he signed with the Packers, played 5 years with the Packers, and then went on to play with those other teams, the Saints, the Lions, and the Broncos finally. All right, Johnson, good job answering that. You'd have the lead 10-5 right now. And Scooty, this next question is back to you. Will Johnson went undrafted after the 2012 NFL Draft. After seeing him at the WVU Pro Day, Mike Tomlin decided to sign him as a free agent. In 2012, he was named to the mid-season all-rookie team for the NFL and went on as the starting fullback for the Steelers for almost 5 years. How many total touchdowns did Will Johnson have in his NFL career? Was it 0, 3, 7, or 23?
It's a good question.
I'm glad you think all of these are good questions, by the way. I appreciate that.
I feel that he had 3 touchdowns.
That's correct. 3 touchdowns for him in his NFL career. So good job, Scooty.
Thanks.
I don't know how you knew that.
I know my NFL.
He mostly blocked people. That was his job for the Steelers, by the way, if you ever want to know. He actually had more receiving yards than he had rushing yards in his 5 years with the Steelers. All right. Good job. We're all tied up 10 apiece. And Johnson, this next question, the last one before Final Bluff, is back to you. Corey McIntyre played defensive end and linebacker in 44 games for WVU from 98 to 2001. He signed as an undrafted free agent with the Eagles after the 2002 NFL Draft, but he ended up playing his NFL career on the offensive side of the ball. What position did he primarily play during his NFL career? Was it center, tight end, right tackle, or fullback?
I think he went as a right tackle.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. Scooty, for 10 points and the steal, was he a center, a tight end, or a fullback?
Corey McIntyre was definitely a tight end.
I'm sorry, no, he was a fullback in the NFL for his NFL career. So
I did not know
nobody gets any points right there. I thought you guys would know that. He played 4 or 5 years with the Eagles.
Yeah, I know him for us. I didn't know that about his pro days.
All right, guys, so we go into Final Bluff again, tied up. I like these close games you guys have been having lately with Bluff the Fluffs here. It's kind of fun. It's exciting.
Yes.
Apparently not to you, though. All right, as we go here into Final Bluff, I always ask you guys every week, you have to have your own buzzer for Final Bluff. It's worth 25 points here to get the right answer. So what's your buzzer this week, Scooty?
Hiya!
All right. Scooty's still stuck in his whatever Cobra Kai.
Have you been watching kung fu movies or something lately? Your intros and buzzers have been hi-yahs a lot lately.
I don't know. It's my lack of creativity. I guess it's getting the better of me right now.
All right, Johnson, what's your buzzer this week?
Free agent.
Free agent. Okay, I like it. There we go, because that's what we're talking
It's
about.
a long buzzer.
Undrafted free agent.
Don't
I just
worry
go by
about
the first sound scheme,
Yeah,
so
he
it doesn't
just
matter
has
how
to hear
long
the
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, right. All right, worth 25 points. Here's Final Bluff. The most famous undrafted free agent in WVU history, hands down, is James Jett. After playing wide receiver at WVU, then getting a gold medal in the 1992 Barcelona Olympics, he went as an undrafted free agent in the 1993 NFL Draft and went on to sign with the Raiders of Los Angeles at the time, actually, and played his entire 9-year NFL career there. While with the Raiders in the NFL, how many total touchdowns did James Jett have? Was it 12, 21, 30, or 45?
Hi-ya!
All right, Scooty, you're in. What do you got?
I believe James Jett had himself 30 touchdowns.
That's a correct answer. 30 touchdowns, 256 receptions, and 4,417 total career yards with the Raiders. So congratulations, Scoot, on the win.
I know my NFL players. What can I say?
You know your NFL players. I mean, James Jett, by far, probably the most famous undrafted free agent from WVU. He was huge.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we were all crazy about him when he played, and then the whole thing with him running the what did he run? Like the 4x100, I think, and got gold.
Yeah, I mean, right. No, you're right. He was aptly named.
Yes,
James
he was
Jett.
aptly named. It was a good time. It was a fun time. Well, congratulations, Scoot. You take the lead now, 7-6 over Johnson and Bluff the Fluffs, and I'm sure that victory tastes so good.
Oh, it does. It does. It tastes great.
Okay, well, I'm glad it tastes great. I'm happy for you. I hope it tastes like I don't know, a Chick-fil-A chicken with Chick-fil-A sandwich with cheese on it.
It does. It tastes like a chicken sandwich with cheese. No pickles.
No pickles, though. All right, well, listen, guys, let's take a break. We're going to come back with a little segment like we like to call, I Can't Believe My Ears. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On.
Tactical Legion Knives, a West Virginia owned and operated company that specializes in heavy-duty tactical knives and gear for the professional warrior, the weekend warrior, and the outdoor warrior. Our products are built tough. For who? For warriors. Hey Mountaineer fans, make sure you go on Amazon and search Tactical Legion Knives, and when you do, make sure you put in the promo code 25TOBRADIO for Tob Radio. You'll get 25% off on Tactical Legion Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On. Don't forget, check out our website, gotyourearson.com. It's kind of the hub of everything about who we are. It has our merch, all of that kind of stuff, right, Johnson?
Yeah, you'll find the latest blog post with all the show notes of stuff we talked about this week with all the links right there for you to click on and check out. You can also find the link in the sidebar to the merch store and do some shopping, Guido. I mean, who doesn't need some new merch, right? And then you can also listen to the latest show right on the website. Just click on the tune in link. So check it out. It's all right there.
All right, yeah, check it out, gotyourearson.com. Well, the phone call came in. He was allowed to go back on the internet this week and find us something to talk about. So, Scoot, you got on the internet, and we have a little segment that you like to present to us that we like to call, I Can't Believe My Ears. What do you got for us this week, Scooty?
I have two, and I think I'll start with the runner-up. The runner-up for the Can't Believe
Kind of
My
like
Ears.
a can't believe your entree. Like
Yes.
can't believe your hors d'oeuvre.
So the runner-up goes to Jesus Luzardo for breaking his pinky finger while playing video games and putting himself on the injured list.
You
for
would
the
talk
Oakland
about
A's.
this one.
Yeah, so apparently he was playing video games and somehow must have been mad. I can only imagine it was a rage quit moment for him. Perhaps somebody like myself may have killed him in a Call of Duty game because that's embarrassing for
my
anybody.
thoughts immediately went to Call of Duty.
Yes.
Well, so first of all, we should preface this. Jesus Luzardo, pitcher for the Oakland Athletics. Oakland Athletics, by the way, Scooty, you know this, Johnson's favorite Major League Baseball team.
So you would bring this up.
I also know that they're on the West Coast and nobody watches that.
Well, I keep up with them.
I mean, except for
I
the 10 people in
this
Oakland.
ridiculous
I know you don't do it through the
pinky
newspaper because
thing.
it's always reported as late game.
Scooty, you're talking about the old print newspaper
Yeah.
that nobody reads
Come
anyways
on.
anymore.
Yes.
That's
I
the
remember
same
you
reason
used
why I
to
don't
get
pay
those
attention
and
to the
you'd
West
open up-
Coast teams.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I'm not going to look at some late game action.
You got me, Scoot. When I go looking for that boxcar and when I get the popcorn from the kid at the street
I
and
don't
I
want
get
to read
my
about
newspaper.
Saturday's
Hey,
game
son,
on
you got
Monday
the late
or
games in
Tuesday.
there. I'm following the Oakland A's here.
I don't want to see the box score from 2 days ago.
Oh, that's
Well,
too
I
funny.
use this thing called the internet.
Well, anyway,
Yes.
so that was my runner-up. The real story I want to get to is, and this probably is something that maybe Guido can relate to more than Johnson. Johnson,
Okay.
you don't have contact lenses, do you?
I do not.
Okay, Guido, do you have any experience with contact lenses?
Well, my experience with contact lenses is that I decided I wanted to get them to get rid of my glasses. I went to the eye doctor. They ordered them for me, and then I sat in the eye doctor's office for an hour and a half trying to get them in my eyes, and I couldn't. I gave up, and I've never tried it.
Hey, oddly enough, we have a very similar story, a very similar path in our eyewear, because I too have glasses, and I too went to the eye doctor, had contact lenses. The lady put them in my eyes for me at first, and then said,
which is weird in itself, right? Like,
Right.
Yeah, this sounds terrible.
hey, lady, touch my eyeball,
Right.
please.
yes, and then she said, you need to take them out so that you can practice putting them back in. And I sat there for about 20 minutes trying to figure out what exactly I was supposed to do to get this contact lens out. Like, I don't even know what
Did you start to panic? Like, oh my God, these lenses are just permanently in my eyeballs.
like I said,
now.
I don't even know what it feels like. What am I grabbing? I'm going to grab my eyeball out of its socket. Like, I felt like Indiana Jones
No,
or something.
sir, the eye stays in your head. You
Yeah,
just
like,
need
I
to
don't know
take
what
the
I'm grabbing
lens.
for. I said, this is a horrible process. So then they sent me home with the contact lenses. Go ahead, do practice this weekend. Well,
Never
forget
touched
that.
them again, did you?
No, forget that, because what happens when I do get them in? I can't get them back out, so I'm not dealing with that. So no glasses. Well, since neither of us wear, or none of us wear contact lenses, we can't feel the sympathy, maybe the empathy, for Yesedra Williams of Detroit, who recently had some issues and woke up and her eyes were bothering her, went to reach over to the bedside table and put some drops in her eyes, only to find out that it was fingernail glue.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah. Fingernail glue
This is way worse than Gorilla
is-
Glue in the Hair Lady from
So
like
she
yeah,
nearly
this
lost
is-
her
this is
vision when
way-
she mistook a
I would imagine.
bottle
Yeah, I
of nail
would
glue
think
for
so.
eye drops.
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
She said she reached into her purse, grabbed what she thought were the eye drops, and she started to freak out, of course. Told her husband to call 911. She had to go to the hospital. They opened her eye and removed the contact lens.
Oh,
They
my
say that the
goodness.
contact lens saved her vision.
Oh wow.
Oh wow. That's crazy. That's insane. Well, okay, so here are a couple things. One is, so I'm married. My lovely wife, who I love very much, wears contact lenses every day.
Okay.
She takes them out at night. She takes them out every night. So this lady leaves her contact
Yeah,
lenses
that's
in all
true.
night.
I thought you weren't supposed to sleep.
You're not
in your
supposed to,
contact.
but a lot of people do. Like, I know some people that, like, they'll leave them in for a month. They're like daily contact lenses, but they'll leave them in for a month, and then when it starts to bother them, which is, I think,
They take
like,
'em
you have started to develop like bacteria and stuff that's like conjunctivitis and things that are causing issues.
So when you start to get the pink eye,
Yes, that's when you take
out
out
the
the
contact
contact
Yeah,
lenses.
I would think there'd be a better plan or strategy than that, but that's just me.
Well, Scoot, thanks for bringing that for you. I was actually kind of hoping I'm going to throw on here for. I know we're running a little long this week, but just for fun, I'm going to throw on what I was hoping you were going to bring
Ew.
as the Can't Believe My Ears. Going to throw one back at you,
Okay,
Scoot.
what do you
The
got?
one I
Can't
made-
believe
What do
my
you
ear
got?
side dish.
Yeah, a little side dish here. So I got one for you. So you guys like fast food.
Yeah,
you guys are fast
sure.
food fans.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Right.
I'll do some fast food. Yeah.
So is a guy in Yate, which is a town in England, right?
I
He's
thought
Great
you
Britain.
I thought you started to mean like yeet. Like
Yate.
Yeah.
Y-A-T-E.
like skirt,
Yate.
like yeet, like
Yeet.
I was
Yeet.
yeah. That's what I thought you were trying to get Scoot to give
No.
you a
Rudy Batten, 22.
Sounds
of
like a guy
Yate.
from Yate. Yeah.
yeah. He did
Yep.
classic Rudy Batten.
Classic Rudy Batten. Huge fan of fast food,
Okay.
right?
Sure.
So much of a fan of fast food, who also has some trouble with the law, Rudy,
Oh, okay.
went into his local McDonald's and pointed a gun at the cashier
Oh,
and
wow.
demanded chicken nuggets. He said,
okay.
held up the McDonald's for chicken nuggets. Give me chicken nuggets.
Scoot,
which-
this sounds like if you were a criminal.
I have yet to see what's wrong about this story so far.
Right.
To which the cashier at the McDonald's said, I'm sorry, sir, we can't serve you any chicken nuggets because it's before 10:45 and we're still serving breakfast.
That's a gutsy cashier, right? Like, look, I know you got a gun pointed at me, but I'm just telling you what the rule
You're
is.
not telling like Bev in the back, hey, throw some freaking nuggets in the grill, like in the fryer. Like this guy's got a gun.
So Rudy
is Bev. I like that. I like Bev in the back. That's good.
So Rudy, being the
Ne'er-do-well?
entrepreneurial, smart ne'er-do-well that he is,
I feel like he's not going to take that for an answer.
he doubles down and he says, "Okay, well if you can't give me nuggets, I want a couple double sausage McMuffins." And so they serve him, or they give him at gunpoint.
So it turns into like a regular order at McDonald's. Like, why is the gun needed at this point, I guess?
Yeah, right. No, he didn't pay. He held them up to get the food.
But I mean,
free.
for 3 McMuffins or something?
On top of that, so it comes to light after Rudy gets arrested on February 2nd and is now looking at 6 years of jail time, by the way, that the night before Rudy decided to go to Miss Millie's, which is apparently a restaurant in Yate, because
Or
as
strip
you
club.
are. He went to Miss Millie's and he held up Miss Millie's at gunpoint for about 200 pounds, 200 pounds being like the money that they have there in England, Scoot,
Right.
not the amount of. 200 pounds of fried chicken as well the night before. So
Dang.
Rudy likes to rob places for food, not for money.
Rudy's
it feels
hungry.
like Rudy gets hungry and then he's like, let me get my gun.
He gets hangry.
He gets angry. That's right. He's like
hangry.
definition of hangry.
Johnson, would you ever think about holding up a Chick-fil-A for a nice,
Rudy is your
original
kind of
chicken
guy
sandwich?
because he's going after the chicken.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
I
he likes
feel
the
like
chicken.
I've wanted to hold up a McDonald's because of their service in the past, but no, I mean, it's never crossed my mind. No.
So he's looking at 6 years for what probably amounts to cost-wise. Well, you said the 200 pounds of chicken wings.
Yeah, come on, 200. Yeah, I mean that's a lot.
200. I
That's
mean,
expensive. I would think.
I think it's also the fact that at knife and gunpoint he was
detail
brandishing weapons at
Right.
people. That also kind of hurts you with that whole
I think it works
go to
against
jail
you.
thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if he had come in and he'd waved his finger and said, "Give me
Yes,
chicken nuggets,"
right.
I think he'd probably only be looking at a fine and a few
He
days.
is
in jail.
accommodating, though, right? Because once he was told that they didn't have chicken nuggets available, he was willing to accept the terms of the new offer.
I mean, what do you think it was? You think what did they start? They start serving lunch at McDonald's at 11 o'clock, right? So you think it was like, what if it was like 10:46 and they're like, "Sir, you got to wait like 15 minutes."
Yeah, what if he just
and
stood
then we'll have
there
the
like
nuggets ready for
tapping
you?
his toe impatiently with his gun in his hand for 15 minutes?
Dude, here's what I don't get about McDonald's, Scooty, is like at McDonald's, like if you so say you came in 10 minutes before they start serving nuggets, like why can't they just make the guy nuggets?
Yeah.
Like why do they have to?
Aren't
We don't
they-
serve. We're serving breakfast,
Yeah,
sir.
right.
I mean, I think there's a place and a time for breakfast foods, and it would shake up the Earth's rotation if you try to mess with that.
I think
So-
it's
Yeah,
poorly
maybe.
managed, Guido. I think a good manager gets Rudy what he wants. I mean, come on.
Maybe that's what it is. So interesting though. I thought I'd bring that up for you guys. You love when somebody holds somebody up for chicken nuggets. So. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back next week with another show, still following this whole WVU basketball craziness and whatever else happens with WVU sports. Don't forget, find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also look for us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On and visit our website. We've got a great merch section there. You can buy shirts. We still have our Pullover Guy shirts where $1 for every shirt sold goes to the Norman Ray Huggins Foundation. So you can order those shirts online at gotyourearson.com. We'll be back next week, guys. Thanks for joining us. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.